is kind of funny. It says someone you know, around 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. you're dragging, you're an emotional roller coaster, you need a brick if it had sugar on it. I mean, this is a typical day, you know, in like corporate America, you know. You have the sugar please. All right. So this is just to kind of give you an idea that we're going to kind of go over how sugar works in the body and how it causes this effect. But on the left is when you eat a high sugar meal that turns straight to sugar in the body, it has a major spike on insulin, and then you crash. Okay? What we want is more of the chart on the right, where it spikes a little bit, because any food you eat is going to spike your blood sugar a little bit. But you want just a slight spike and then a more general, gradual decrease, a slow, controlled release of that sugar into the bloodstream, as opposed to these constant roller coaster effects, which will majorly damage the body. So this is kind of the cycle, and I'll kind of explain this. It's got some funny little pictures there to help you make sense of it. But I think this is fascinating, the way the human body works. If you think about the way the human body was designed, again, I always like to cut out the last 150 years where we kind of screwed everything up. But if you go back thousands of years in history, the body was designed to have energy and to have fuel available when we need it. Okay, so the body should have stores of energy that we can use when we need to run, hunt, gather something, we're getting chased, we're in war, we're in battle, whatever. Okay, so the body actually has multiple mechanisms to give your body sugar, energy, and fuel when you need it. That can happen through the adrenals, through the pancreas, through the liver. It's sugar into the bloodstream. It's hormones that are produced like adrenaline. You can lift a car off a person if you have to. Okay? So we have multiple mechanisms to increase energy in the body for when we need it. That's how the body was designed. We only have one mechanism to get sugar out of the body, which makes it pretty apparent that we were never meant as human beings to consume these types of foods that we're consuming today. The only way your body gets sugar out of the body is through insulin. That's why if you become insulin dependent, can you flip that up? Yeah.
Just turn the temperature up.
Thank you. I talk loud, but I can't talk like that. So the only way the body has to get rid of sugar is through insulin. And we know how important insulin is, because if your insulin stops working, or your pancreas isn't producing it, or you become insulin resistant, you have to start getting insulin shots. You cannot live without it. So, because that's the only mechanism, if we damage that mechanism, we're in big trouble. Big trouble. So what happens is when you eat something that's sugar, and when I say sugar, I'm talking about processed sugar for the most part, but I'm also talking about processed anything white, processed white rice, processed grains, breads, things like that. Immediately spikes the blood sugar. Okay, when all that blood's all that sugar's in the blood, the body has to get rid of it. Okay, it's too much sugar for the body. The body knows that. It's got to have a way to deal with it and move it out of the body. So what it does is it releases insulin. Well, it has to release a lot of insulin. If you ate, 3-4 donuts or whatever, because that's a lot of sugar, so it has to release a lot of insulin. Well, it quickly drops the blood sugar, and it drops it all the way past the point to make you hypoglycemic, where you actually don't have enough blood sugar. So that in turn forces the adrenal glands to produce cortisol to re-release sugar into your bloodstream. So that's why it's this constant effect. And what that does long term is that totally wipes out the adrenals too, which is where your adrenaline comes from, a lot of your hormones come from, a lot of your sexual hormones come from. So just one of the side effects of sugar, decreased sexual function. And the adrenal glands are just so important for so many different functions in the body. Do you have a question?
I have a brother-in-law that had his colon removed because his diet was mainly sugar.
Mm-hmm.
He's a retired gym employee, and so I told him that sugar creates cancer, and he didn't believe me. So he asked his MD, and his MD said, "Oh no, that's not true." So then he went to Mayo Clinic because it had gone from his colon to his lungs.
Mm-hmm.
And Mayo Clinic said the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
No, sugar doesn't cause it. And I had the research done and showed them.
Right.
And they still don't believe that sugar causes it.
Yeah. No, sugar can definitely cause cancer. There's a lot of research showing that. Yeah. And that's a whole other subject, not to get too far off on. I've done a class on cancer. But yeah, if you want to look up something really interesting, look up Dr. Simasini. He believes all cancer is a fungus fed by sugar, and that the easiest way to reverse it is with a good old 99-cent product in your refrigerator.
How are you
Baking
spelling?
soda. What's that?
How are you spelling this?
Simasini, Simocini. There's videos with him on YouTube that are fascinating. So, insulin spikes to get rid of the blood, or the sugar in your blood. Then it rapidly drops, then your body has to. Well then, when you have low blood sugar, what happens? You crave sweets again, right? You need energy, you need fuel. So that's why the constant craving always happens, and then you feel like junk. But you can't get out of the habit, so you just keep doing it.
So beyond just the low energy, when you're feeling emotional and you're craving sugar, is that another instance of the low blood sugar flowing through?
Well, absolutely, and it's directly related to your hormones too. So like I said, it affects those feel-good hormones and a lot of those hormones and those emotions that you're dealing with. So yeah, it feeds that whole system. And like I said, with treating it like an addiction, it literally changes the cellular structure of your body, and that's why it can take so long to overcome. So here's a little bit about the insulin sugar cycle. Breakfast of champions, 2 donuts and a coffee. A high glycemic food, digest quickly, blood sugar's through the roof. Your sugar-soaked brain tells you stress is good, bring it on. Your body overproduces insulin to compensate for it, which makes your blood sugar drop like a rock. But your insulin levels stay up, which a lot of the damage in diabetics, there's 2 types of damage happening inside a diabetic's body. It's sugar damage and insulin damage. Insulin is also very damaging to the body when it's stuck in the bloodstream for long periods of time, and it's got nothing to do. Sugar-starved brain tells you, I hate my job. What was I trying to remember? Where did I hide the donut? Everyone meets in the kitchen for their 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. sugar fix, and the cycle repeats. I worked corporate for 8 years, and this was so reality for me. I mean, we had donuts almost every morning, and about 3 o'clock we'd all crash. I never made the connection. I feel like silly about it now, but I would go to lunch and I would go to wherever was convenient nearby. It didn't matter what I had, but I always felt horrible that afternoon. I would just crash, and I never related it to, oh my gosh, it might have something to do with what I ate for lunch.